Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Topping the big stories tonight are challenges to the detention of former President Rodrigo Duterte in the Netherlands. In Manila, Senator Amy Marcos files a complaint before the Ombudsman against government officials involved in Digong's arrest. And in The Hague, Duterte's lawyers question the ICC's jurisdiction over their client.
In the aftermath of a fatal multi-vehicle pileup on SCTEX, families of the victims cry for justice as the LTFRB sanctions the owner of the bus that caused the crash.
And Ombudsman Samuel Martirez calls out Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia for defying her 6-month preventive suspension and even asking her to apologize for misleading the public with her statements.
Kinakailangan tuluyan imbestigahan at patawan ng parusa kung kinakailangan itong mga opisyal na ito.
After calling on the Ombudsman to investigate cabinet and police officials for their role in the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte, Senator Amy Marcos personally filed a complaint today. According to Amy's submission, these officials could have criminal and administrative liability and should be investigated and held accountable if found guilty. Senator Marcos named the following in her complaint: DOJ Secretary Boying Remulla, DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla, PNP Chief General Romel Marbil, CIDG Chief General Nicolas Torre III, and Special Envoy on Transnational Crime Marcos Lacanilao. Along with her complaint, Marcos submitted the report of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, which she chairs. In the said report, Marcos said the DOJ Secretary violated the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act for allowing Duterte's arrest. Other possible charges Amy laid out were usurpation of judicial functions, grave misconduct, and conduct prejudicial to the best interest of public service. As for DILG Secretary Remulla, Marcos sees him liable for arbitrary detention and other charges. She's also suggesting almost similar raps against Marbil, Torre, and Lacanilao.
Dahil may criminal and administrative culpabilities ang ibang napakatataas na opisyal. Kaya kinakailangan tuluyan imbestigahan at patawan ng parusa kung kinakailangan itong mga opisyal na ito. Alam naman po natin na kapag may paglalabag ng government officials, kinakailangan dalhin sa Ombudsman. Siya yung talagang binigyan ng kapangyarihan ng ating mga batas na mag-imbestiga at parusahan ang mga opisyal sa gobyerno. Naniniwala ko ng Ombudsman natin ay walang bias, walang takot na parusahan yung karapat-dapat parusahan.
Now, in related news, lawyers of former President Duterte have challenged the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court over their client. They also moved to secure Digong's release. Based on court records, the counsels maintain that the ICC has no jurisdiction over the Philippines after it withdrew from the Rome Statute in 2019. For her part, Vice President Sara Duterte remains confident that they will have a positive outcome on the petition. Malacanang, on the other hand, only had this to say on the Duterte camp's submission.
Ngayon ay nakalagay na officially sa ICC website yung pagbabasura ng kaso dahil sa kawalan ng jurisdiction ng ICC at sa immediate release ni Pangulong Duterte.
Kung ang depensa nila ay walang jurisdiction ng ICC, then that's part of due process. Let them be. At kung ano ang magiging tugon po dito ng ICC, nasa kamay na po yan ng ICC.
And the Department of Agriculture has postponed the full implementation of the 20 peso per kilo rice program in Kadiwa stores across Metro Manila to May 13. This is after the COMELEC, or Commission on Elections, imposed a 10-day ayuda ban from May 2 to May 12, during which only medical and burial assistance are allowed. The Agriculture Department says the move is to avoid any political controversy or accusations of politicizing the program.
It is best nga daw po na we do it after elections so as not also to, kahit DA po yung magli-lead through Kadiwa nga, is hindi po maging ma-politicize po yung pagbibigay natin ng ating P20 na bigas. Tayo naman po ay sumusunod din sa mga direktiba po ng election. Ayaw rin naman natin na mapulaan tayo.
COMELEC Chairman George Garcia earlier advised the department to resume the program after May 12. This suggestion was made after the program's recent launch in the Visayas. Under the program, the 20 per kilo or 20 pesos per kilo rice will be sold in selected Kadiwa stores across Metro Manila, where rice currently sells for about 29 pesos per kilo. The rollout, which includes locations such as the Kamuning Public Market in Quezon City, the Mandaluyong Public Markets 1 and 2, Bagong Silang Phase 9 Public Market in Caloocan, and the Pasay City Public Market. Only indigent or vulnerable households will be eligible to purchase the subsidized rice with a maximum of 30 kilos per household per month. Meanwhile, the National Food Authority or NFA has allocated 370,000 metric tons of rice for the program, which is targeted for a nationwide rollout by 2026. The Agriculture Department believes the program is sustainable as it supports local rice farmers. It also clarified that despite the ayuda or government assistance ban, the sale of rice at 29 pesos per kilo or pesos per kilo will continue.
As long as our farmers keep producing, this is the support that we're offering nga. As long as our farmers are producing, as well as also the government is willing to subsidize a portion of it to be sold. Tuloy-tuloy lang po itong programa ito.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, Camille Villar is still part of Alianza despite the administration's push for a probe into her family's water utility company. That story and more are next when the Big Story returns. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the big story. From U.S. tariffs to cybersecurity and AI, what's next for the BPO industry? We're joined live by Jack Madrid, President and CEO of the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines. Welcome to the program.
It's good to be back here.
That's IBPAP for short. Okay, Jack, last year, BPO industry contributed 38 billion US dollars to the economy, Philippine economy, 8.5% of GDP, 1.8 million jobs. Now with the outlook dimming in the US, do you think this will continue, the growth will continue?
We're still off to a good start.
Oh, you think?
This year. There are continuing stream of investors, both prospective and existing locators, who are still looking to establish operations or expand their footprint in the Philippines. So there's no indication of any slowdown. I like to say there's more demand than supply.
Yesterday, the GDP figures for the first 3 months of the US showed a 0.3 decline. You don't think that will affect these prospects that you're talking about? Because, companies will downsize, will look for savings if all the tariffs push through.
Well, overall, I think the Philippine economy is relatively insulated. So I think we should be okay. The tariffs seem to only affect goods, so the manufacturing sector. We've not heard of any impact so far on services.
Of course, but then the companies that we service will be affected by the tariffs.
Yeah, macroeconomics will always play a role in decisions. But there's one thing we should all remember. Philippine IT BPM is not just about cost savings anymore.
What is it?
The Philippine brand is very strong. The Filipino digital worker is known for being a world leader in delivering customer experience. So I think, I like to say, the whole world wants a Filipino to resolve their problem. And that is because of not just our communication, but our empathy.
Okay, but you mentioned, Jack, that there is still demand, which means you're seeing that if there is something short, it's the supply side. Because we just got kind of disturbing statistics coming out from the PSA saying that about 1/5 of all graduates from senior high school.
It's not something to laugh about.
It's not something, but it's really disturbing. And this could actually also harm supply side.
Well, we've faced this talent supply gap for quite a number of years. I mean, this industry, has proven its resilience despite the fact that there are two major issues that have always faced us. So the first one is the ease of doing business.
The red tape.
Red tape, bureaucracy, changing rules in the middle of the game. On the other hand, there's always going to be an issue of, do we have enough employable talent to meet the demand? Because work types are going to change with technology and AI. So we need to upgrade our repertoire of skills to meet these growing work types. And, we've always talked about how do we get higher value jobs. So it's not just the number of jobs, but the revenue per digital Filipino worker.
But how alarming is that, Jack? I mean, that statistic of having 19 million graduates who
Quite.
are functionally illiterate.
Because this is a human capital intensive industry. So any degradation of our educational sector, anything that affects skills, will have an impact, because we rely on that bedrock of human capital and talent.
So is IBPAP doing anything to address this? Are you working with educational institutions? Are you funding training?
Yes to all of the above. We work with every single government stakeholder, from DepEd. In fact, we continue to meet with Secretary Sani Angara, even though that's just elementary and high school.
Yeah.
We have good relationships and programs with CHED. And most significantly, I have a renewed sense of hope with our working relationship with Director General Kiko Benitez of TESDA. So we have a number of exciting plans, with TESDA supporting us with scholarship funds. We hope to meet our ambitious and aggressive target of 2.5 million digital
Yes, by
Filipino workers.
2028 and $59 billion
In revenue.
in revenue. That's still achievable.
Well, it's a
despite-
stretch. I think we will meet our baseline target of 2.2 million
By when? By when?
by
In 2
by
years?
2028. But I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about our aggressive target of 2.5. But we will not get there without upskilling and reskilling our existing workforce and our incoming university graduates.
Are your members not worried at all about the global economy outlook?
Well,
with the-
I think the short answer is yes. The situation today is fraught with uncertainty.
Yeah, yeah.
Every day there's a change.
Yeah.
And that overhang is what's disturbing because it's hard to plan
Yes.
when you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So our industry needs to focus on running
As if there were none.
our operations and
I
focusing
guess
on
that's
that.
what's about Filipinos. That's the difference. I mean, you see the Singaporean PM very much worried, talking to Parliament about an emergency situation, and yet everyone we interview in this show has not shown the same concern.
They see the bright side.
Yeah.
They see the
We have a lot of
opportunities.
optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah. You too.
Well, about the IT BPM industry, I'm still optimistic because there is still more demand. That's
Where is it coming from, though?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, is it
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
from the
primarily
US?
North America.
Still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But get this, there are more contact center workers in the US than here. So, and
And
they're
of
not
course,
cheaper
yeah.
than we are.
No, but the political winds are they want to provide the jobs to Americans, so there will be. You don't see
We've
that
heard less of that
now.
this time compared to 2016.
You're talking about Trump
Yes,
1
Trump
versus
1 and
Trump 2.
Trump 2, yes.
Okay. But I'd like to focus on 2024, which was a banner year for the IT BPM industry because you actually overtook OFW remittances. Back when I was covering business, that's what we were waiting for when the graph lines would cross, and they finally happened last year. Despite the uncertainty and the economic headwinds, what was the strength that pushed the IT BPM industry forward last year?
Well, the higher demand and the continuing higher demand is because of Filipino talent. It's really that, and relatively the stability under the present administration of rules and regulations. If you recall, 3 years ago, feels longer. We didn't even know whether we could get remote work or work flexibility during the tail end of
Pandemic,
COVID,
the
during the
pandemic.
pandemic. But we have a relatively stable work environment now, thanks to the good work of Secretary Frederick Go. We got Create More passed that provides a lot of transparency and stability to the regulatory environment, including work from home.
Okay. What about the threat of India? That was one other threat. If there was one other country breathing down our necks in terms of, the BPO industry, it's India.
Well, they are number one. The sheer number will always, make them number one. But I don't really see it as a competition because there is enough work for everybody. They have the same issues we do. Talent. We're all looking for employable talent. They have their strength. Filipinos have ours.
Where is ours?
Well, aside from communication and our cultural affinity with North America, it's really the empathy that the world knows us for.
But Jack, I wanted to go back also to the point you made earlier that it's no longer just the number of jobs. You have to take a look if we're providing value-adding services, right? So what's
Higher value.
higher value-adding services? So what would you say are the skills that are most in demand today?
Oh, it's a great question. and it keeps changing every 6 months or 12 months. But I would place those skills in two buckets. The first bucket, some people call it soft skills, are all about communication, empathy, problem solving, critical thinking. It's all there, leadership at the higher levels. So that's important. That cuts across all the different industries of IT BPM. And then the other bucket would be specific domain skills. We all know about the shortage of nurses, but there's also a shortage of accountants, analysts, bankers. All aspects of healthcare is also in demand. Pharmacists. So,
For instance, you said JP Morgan is even expanding
Yes.
its operations here. What are the services that they're after?
well, I mean, obviously, American consumers are their primary target. They provide credit analysis. They provide a lot of front-end customer experience, whether it's credit cards or mortgages. But they also have quite sophisticated high-value tasks, such as monitoring network security across U.S. branches.
If the U.S. economy enters a recession, will, for instance, JP Morgan or another U.S. company downscale those services that we provide? Will they cut costs?
Well, cost optimization is always going to be a criteria for a locator. And one thing I can say is we are not the cheapest anymore.
Okay.
But neither are we the most expensive. Having said that, there are still more contact center employees in the U.S. itself, which is much more expensive than we are. So any recession will impact them first.
Before us.
Because they're
before
expensive.
before
At saka
the
nagtayo
offshoring
na sila
countries.
Siguro magdadalawang isip sila. They've
Besides,
opened new offices.
I think the Philippines is too entrenched, especially with North American companies. It will be very hard for them to pull out.
But let's go to AI this time. What are the threats and what are the advantages? Where can we see opportunities with the advent of AI?
IT BPM as an industry has worked with AI for almost a decade. When we deployed chatbots and robotic process automation. We were worried about the impact of jobs then.
Pero
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Generative AI and agentic AI will be different because agentic AI can reason, can make decisions. The question is, what functions will you allow agentic AI to make those decisions now? If it's managing your bank account or your medical records, maybe not just yet. So there will always be important tasks that will need human judgment or an important decision to be made. So we're not seeing it yet. Any impacted jobs from AI so far?
No, but how can we turn it into an advantage?
Oh, well, that is where we need comprehension, communication,
Okay.
and critical thinking because the best
Naku,
agents now.
Bumalik na
Doon
tayo
na nga
doon.
tayo kulang.
Yeah. Well, we need to really beef up those skills because those are the skills needed to use AI
use, yeah.
tools
Yeah.
to create super agents.
Yeah.
Our members have begun using AI tools, and the findings are that it improves the performance of the average performing agents, less so than the best performing agents. So it raises the average, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. But you guys have been really busy. I see every so often on my timeline a news article that IBPAP has partnered with the DTI to set new standards. You've partnered with Google Philippines, I think.
Yeah, offering an AI essentials course to the faculty of institutions of learning.
And do you think this is going to help our supply side problem?
Well, my team and I will do whatever it takes, across all stakeholders to solve this. We are very focused on talent upskilling and reskilling. It's the only thing we need to solve now that our regulatory regime is stable.
Speaking of talent, Jack, I was watching your interview the last time you were here in the Big Story, and you did encourage people. You said, study what you want, be good at it, because there will be a job for you in IT BPM.
Yes.
Does that still hold true in this changing landscape?
Absolutely, because the IT BPM is composed of many industries. In fact, I'll argue
that's true.
all industries. So,
Dati akala nila call center lang
yeah,
kasi.
we're not
Yeah.
operators who do simple directory assistance type calls. If you look at the healthcare, the things we do, we even take care of U.S. patients in, in hospitals over there. So, you know, be good at what you do. That's domain skills, but have that set of soft skills that are needed.
When it comes to the labor force, which last year made 38 billion, that you were saying that's just 1.8 million employees who made 38 billion. That's a pipe dream for most middle-class Filipinos. What are you guys looking for right now in terms of talent? Just to build on Paui's question, I'm sure people might be listening and they might think, you know, this job pays incredibly well if it can make that much money.
Certainly well above, you know, average salaries, and I think I would like Filipino families to view the IT BPM industry as a long-term career. For
What courses should they be looking at?
Communications.
Para
dapat ba IT?
they can focus this
well, you know,
early?
I encourage families and students to study what they want to be good at. There
Anything.
will be a role for them. Just be good at what you do. Have those
The arts.
have those qualitative
Whatever the
skills.
arts.
Oh, our creative industry
Graphic artists.
is thriving. It's coming from a smaller base. But Filipinos are very creative people. We are behind many of the Hollywood blockbusters. So I think you should pursue what your real interests are and just have a lot of grit, you know, and determination to succeed, because that's what our industry
You know,
is about.
what's happening now with the rise in functional illiteracy rates is the short attention span of our youth. You know, yung Gen Alpha. Iba na tayo. I don't know, Gen, ano ka ba? Baby boomer!
I don't think boomers si Jack.
Anyhow, yeah.
Gen X.
What would you...
It's a
how would you
global
address this?
issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's I think which the flip side of which is the solution. All the knowledge, all the information, all the learning is actually on that phone,
Yeah.
and most of it is free.
But
Let's make a conscious decision
But
to
dun
spend
na nga
our
siguro-
time reading
good things.
more productive.
Things that will make you more knowledgeable,
yes.
hindi yung wasted
or too much
time.
social media. I mean,
You're talking
so-
about like digesting and be more discerning with the content that you.
Yeah, but how
Just
do you...
read something good, 15 minutes a day. It will, or learn some new AI tools to make you more
I
productive.
was gonna not grab a book.
Well, anything that's interesting to you know, just do something every day.
Actually,
Be
no.
better than you were yesterday.
The irony is it's all in your phone, but it's your phone also that leads you to become dumber.
Well, that's a global phenomenon,
Yeah.
but it's certainly a factor here.
But how did you notice any? I remember when I finished college, it was my generation that was like at the forefront of the boom in BPO industry. At that time, I think it was mostly really call centers where you teach people to speak with the twang. It was more or less like that. But now, for the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas who are coming into the workforce, what kind of jobs in the IT BPM industry do they actually seek?
The fastest growing sectors are in banking and financial services and healthcare. And this has led the growth of what is referred to as the GCC sector of IT BPM. That stands for Global Capability Centers. So these are wholly owned branches and operations of multinationals. JP Morgan being an example, or HSBC, or Optum. So the people who work in these companies are employees of these companies, servicing these companies' customers globally.
How many percent is from North America?
Over 60%.
60, and the 40% is.
Rest of the world, Europe,
So should
Asia
we not
Pacific.
focus on also our efforts on kind of growing the market?
Yes, we go on investment missions. In fact, next week
Where are
we
the
are going to
prospects?
Australia.
Okay.
Australia makes a lot of sense because of an overlap of time zone. Because we have some daytime capacity.
Correct.
There's
that
no need
needs
for a
to be full.
graveyard
Yeah.
shift.
Yes.
Okay.
So and
Australia.
it's really more cost efficient. We are underpenetrated with the UK and some other countries
Is there
because
sorry, go ahead.
we're so associated with North America.
Yes.
I was thinking it's
We
because
should-
we speak English.
Very American.
Is there
It
any
started
way
that
for
way.
us to like service a country that is not English
Native
speaking?
language capability is something Filipinos are very good at. Many of IBPAP's members, have grown significant businesses with non-English capabilities. There are some native speakers who live in the Philippines who have helped us develop that. I'm particularly keen on Asian languages, for example.
But
And maybe Spanish can be another one.
Wow, that sounds so
matagal yun.
difficult.
But Jack,
uh,
Chinese?
Well,
Chinese.
Well, with the cost difference, there's really a third layer of IT BPM competition that we also need to consider.
Okay.
It's not just India and the Philippines anymore. You have destinations like Colombia, South Africa, Poland, Egypt that have emerged, but they cannot scale like the Philippines and India.
But digitally, Jack, I also noticed a growing trend of individuals pursuing freelancing, becoming virtual assistants, becoming their own bosses. Is that a big threat to the IT BPM industry?
It's a factor because it's obviously another, I guess,
You're losing
competitive,
talent, ano?
another competitive arena
Yeah.
where they could have joined IT
Yeah.
BPM,
Yeah.
but they're doing freelancing work.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge that. As a Filipino, I know that that's still a job. I mean, everyone has a right to choose what they work, but there are some gray areas that need to be looked at because
Which
some
are?
of these employers, are not formally registered
Yeah.
in the Philippines.
Right.
That they're not JP Morgan, for example, so you don't have that
Exactly.
So walang
security.
So who's
Protection.
protecting the rights of those employees, labor standards? So there are some factors that need to be considered. So some education is needed.
But has it impacted your sector significantly? Have people quit because ayaw na nila mag-graveyard, magiging virtual assistant
The
na lang?
driving reason for freelancing, in my opinion, is the work flexibility, 100% working from home. So it's another layer of competition for IBPAP members to consider.
I would have thought COVID kind of changed that for the sector. I mean, a lot of IT BPM workers had to go online and work from home already
yes.
during COVID. So I thought maybe it's stuck, or at
The
least some of
industry
it.
would adjust to
Yeah,
that
sort
kind
of.
of.
Well, I think we successfully
blended.
adjusted
Yes.
to hybrid work. But there is no one number for everybody because our industry is so diverse and we all have different customers, different industries. There's no one number, there's no one size fits all.
Right.
And it also depends on the privacy of data. Some industries are more
Yeah.
sensitive to
Right.
data privacy than others.
So before we let you go, what's your forecast for the year?
IBPAP is reviewing our projections.
Okay.
It is the midpoint of our roadmap 2028. So I'll have a more intelligent answer to your question by June 30.
But roughly up or down?
It's
up.
going to be a plus
Okay.
number.
Okay.
And I'm fairly optimistic we will touch 2 million digital Filipino workers in 2026.
Oh, wow.
Okay. From 1.8 in 2024.
Yes. So I'd like to invite the three of you to one of the industry's biggest events, Solaya IT BPM Industry Awards on June 11th, where we recognize the best of the best. It's going to be on June 11th, and we will recognize the best of each category of IT BPM.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We will mark it in our calendar.
The wine will be good.
Are you telling Sean?
Or Paui.
Well, thank you very much.
I think it's me.
Jack Madrid, President and CEO of the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines. Have a good weekend, Jack.
Thank you so much. It's always good to be here.
Now, over in the United States, a shakeup in the administration a little over 100 days into the Trump presidency. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is set to depart the cabinet and will instead be given a United Nations posting. Waltz came under searing scrutiny in March after revelations that he added a journalist to a private text chain on the encrypted messaging app Signal. That text group was planning for a sensitive March 15 military operation against Houthi militants in Yemen. Waltz served in the House representing Florida for 3 terms before his elevation to the White House. He is the most prominent senior administration official to depart during the early going of Trump's second term. This is not the first time, though, Trump fired officials from his power circle. During his first White House term, he rotated through 4 national security advisors, 4 White House chiefs of staff, and 2 secretaries of state. But for now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be serving as interim national security advisor.
We do have more stories for you after this very quick break. The big story will be right back. Keep it here.
You're still watching The Big Story on One News. The Department of Transportation has ordered the suspension of the entire fleet of Solid North Company. One of the firm's buses figured in a massive crash on SCTEX yesterday. 10 died and at least 30 have been injured in the pileup. Here's the report.
These bus passengers survived the multiple vehicle collision along SCTEX on Labor Day, May 1st. 25-year-old M. Apines sustained wounds on her right eye and knee due to the pileup. She was taking a nap when tragedy struck.
Kasi pagising ko na lang, wala. Sobrang lakas na ng impact. Parang ang tawag doon, nabugbog. Kasi masakit yun dito kanina eh. Pagkagising ko po, gulo-gulo na lahat ng upuan sa loob ng bus.
32-year-old Sherry May can't walk properly after she was flung out of her seat by the impact of the collision. It also took a while before she was taken out of the bus she was on.
Yung emergency po na pang brake sana sa glass, wala silang ganon. So yung iba, binuksan yung parang sliding window doon sa likod para makababa. Pero yung iba po kasi na matatanda, hindi nila kayang lumabas sa window. So ang ginawa po namin, yung basag na door doon sa harap, yun yung ginamit namin na labasan. So yung iba nasusugat na po sila dahil nga para lang makalabas.
The driver of the van just waiting for his turn at the Tarlac City toll booth is still in critical condition. The impact of the Labor Day crash was so intense, the bus hit a van, causing it to collide with another SUV. One truck and another vehicle were likewise hit. The accident caused heavy traffic along the expressway, but more than the congestion was the gruesome aftermath of the SCTEX crash. 8 of the van's passengers instantly died. They were a family on their way to a church camp up north. In the mortuary, Arlene, a relative of the victims, could not hold back her tears.
Nabalilima po sa amin. Tapos yung tatlo, iuwi pa po ng Bicol kasi mga kamag-anak po yung asawa nun. Taga Bicol po. Gusto din siyempre makita. So, ibuburol muna sa Antipolo Hills doon sa church. After nun, ita-transport na sa Bicol. May church event po kasi sila. Oo, children's camping, kaya nga maraming bata. So, actually, papuntang Pangasinan pa sila sana. Kaya lang, yun na nga, hindi na nga sila umabot.
Emir, son of one of the victims, could only hope that the bus company would help them.
Nung nakumpirma po namin doon sa bahay, talaga pong bumagsak po kami lahat, talagang iyakan po kami. And then, ayun po, ano na lang po kami, parang kinomfort na lang po namin yung isa't isa.
On Friday afternoon, 2 of the fatalities, husband and wife John and Janica Alinas, were finally brought home to Plaridel, Bulacan. They were the last to be extracted from the smashed van. And with them was their 2-year-old son, who had been sitting in his car seat. The toddler survived but sustained leg injuries.
Nagpapasalamat pa rin dahil yung anak nila binigay pa ni Lord sa amin. State of shock pa rin po kami. Parang sana panaginip lang lahat. Hindi ako ibabakasyon lang dapat kasi yung family. Sa ngayon po, syempre magulo pa utak namin, hindi namin alam. Parang hindi pa kami makapaniwala. Parang sana panaginip lang ang lahat. Sa ngayon po, to be honest, hindi pa namin alam.
The local government of Tarlac has promised to provide medical, financial, transportation, and burial assistance to the victims. Based on the initial investigation by Tarlac PNP, the bus driver fell asleep as he approached the toll plaza. The bus had also been running on full speed. In all, 10 have been confirmed dead in the pileup. All of them have been brought to Tarlac Provincial Hospital for treatment.
Karamihan po doon sa mga injured po rito, hindi pa po kilala yung karamihan. Kasi wala pong mga ibang pagkakakilanlan. So kasalukuyan pa pong iniimbestigahan pa po ng ating mga investigador yung kanilang mga pagkakakilanlan. So ito po, sana po ngayon is sa mga manonood ninyo is makarating sa kanila na nasa Tarlac Provincial Hospital pa po yung karamihan na unidentified pa po.
The wounded bus driver and the conductor are now in the custody of police, but they refuse to give a statement. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon already suspended the operation of Solid North, the company of the ill-fated bus. Dizon also ordered the LTFRB to file criminal charges. He also met with bus operators to discuss possible stricter safety measures, including mandatory safety checks.
Talagang halos nabasag yung puso ko kanina nung nalaman ko. 2 weeks ago, sinabi na namin, napapansin na namin na pataas ng pataas ang incidents ng road accidents. Ngayong 4 na buwan pa lang ng 2025, nagampasan na yung total number recorded ng LTFRB ng mga insidente na matay at na injure nung buong 2024. Kasama na itong nangyari kahapon. The part of the government, babaguhin natin ang lahat ng ating mga proseso para gawing mas stricto at hindi lang yung proseso kundi yung enforcement.
Despite Malacanang's calls to investigate the Villar-owned Prime Water Infrastructure Corporation, the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas Bets clarified that Congresswoman Camille Villar is still in their slate. The administration ticket campaigned in Lucena, Quezon today, headed by their main endorser, President Bongbong Marcos. Villar did not attend, so her photo on stage was removed. But her tarpaulin can still be seen outside the convention center. According to Alyansa campaign manager, Congressman Toby Tiangco, The party respects Villar's track record in public service. Co-candidate Congressman Erwin Tulfo also confirmed that they are still campaigning for Villar.
Hindi po si Congresswoman Camille ang iniimbestigahan dito. Ang iniimbestigahan po yung company ng family niya. Prime Water is not Camille Villar. So bakit po natin alisin yung tao? Kasama po namin simulat sa pool. Doesn't matter porque in-endorse siya ng kabila. Magagalit na kami. Itsapuera ka na.
Now, it so happened that Prime Water also operates in Lucena, Quezon. Prior to the sortie, Villar's co-allianza bets were asked about the president's order to investigate the company over service issues. And this is what they had to say.
Any issue or controversy that concerns a basic need of the people should be addressed right away.
Dito mismo sa Lucena, kausap namin yung mga mayors, o kaya mismo yung congressman dito. Problema rin nila yung tubig. Walang politics involved pagka yung basic necessity na ng ating mga kababayan ang involved.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Ombudsman wants an apology from Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia. Ombudsman Samuel Martirez says this is for Garcia's unfounded accusation and malicious insinuation that politics played out in her 6-month preventive suspension order. Garcia said Martirez is an appointee of former President Rodrigo Duterte. Martirez, however, reminded Garcia that regardless of who appointed the ombudsman or the affiliation of the respondent or accused, the law shall be applied justly and fairly. Garcia is facing a grave abuse of authority complaint for the issuance of a permit to a construction company, even without an environmental compliance certificate. And despite President Marcos saying due process must be accorded to Garcia, the palace says it is leaving the case up to the ombudsman.
Ang pananaw po ng Pangulo ay laging kung ano ang dapat sa batas. Hindi po natin gagamitin yung excuse ng pamumulitika. Ang gusto lamang po niya ay masunod kung ano sinasabi ng batas.
Alright, we have been following this race since day one, so it's only fitting that we stick around to see it through full circle. For our big picture tonight, we meet the winners of the Metro Pacific Tollways Tour of Luzon, the Great Revival. South Korea's Ju Tae-yong of the Kapyong cycling team dominated all 8 stages, including a 177.54-kilometer final ride to claim the overall title at the Ascent to Greatness ceremony in Baguio. John Paul Morales and Jonel Carcueva finished 2nd and 3rd, respectively. The MPT Drive Hub cycling team took the top spot in the team general classification and celebrated individual wins with Mervin Corpus as best sprinter. Meanwhile, Go for Gold's James Escumbien was named Best Young Rider.
Wow, congratulations.
Was it in Burnham Park too, the ending?
No,
It was in
John
Camp John Hay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So imagine, right? That route.
Yeah.
Imagine the uphill.
Yeah.
Uphill everything.
Yeah. Wow,
Very
but
congratulations to all the winners.
we have a Korean to win.
Hopefully it's an annual thing starting this year because it's been a while,
Are there
right?
plans for that?
I'm not sure, but hopefully, right? Kasi Mrs. nga was making kwento yesterday that she would wait
a
outside
little
her
girl.
house just to catch the cyclists.
Not naman outside my house,
not
but in
outside your
Burnham
house.
Park. Burnham Park.
You're saying it was a thing. That was when we
Yes.
first announced that the race was gonna happen finally.
Yeah,
Revive.
yeah.
So congratulations to all the winners of the Tour of Luzon. Unfortunately, we're not in Baguio enjoying the cooler weather. But it is Friday, the end of the week, and that's it for the big story on this week.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, everyone.